This magazine has a very interesting cover story on the top 5 regrets of people who are dying. Have you read it?
What a cheerful subject. No, I haven't read that article, but I'm willing to bet I wish I had spent more time at the office didn't make the top 5.
It did not. I wish I hadn't worked so hard is on the list. No surprise there either. The one that really struck me was, I wish I had stayed in touch with old friends. I had a close friend whose family emigrated to Paraguay while we were in elementary school. And one of my other childhood friends dropped out of high school and went to Xi'an in China to become a chef. I wish I'd kept in touch with them.
That's a very common regret. If you're fortunate enough to have good friends, make sure you treat them well and let them know how loved they are. Always be sure to make time to catch up with them. As we say here in America, you don't make new friends after 30.
I don't think that's true for everyone. I've been able to form some good, solid friendships even after turning 30. But my best friends are those I've known since my teens or when I was in college.
When we think of living a balanced life, we tend to focus on things like work and family. But a truly balanced life should also include having friends, people who will always be there for you.
Sorry to rain on your parade, folks, but I think the whole idea of friendship is overrated. I have a fairly cynical take on it.
I'm surprised to hear that, Steve. Just why do you think that, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't mind. I had an experience that really opened my eyes to just how fickle and fragile friendship can be. A few years ago, a couple of my friends decided to go into the PR business together. I warned them that's a surefire way to lose friendships and money in the quickest way possible, but they laughed off my concerns.
So what happened?
The result was predictably disastrous. At first, my friends said that the venture felt like it was made in heaven. But after a while, it became painfully obvious that they didn't see eye to eye regarding the growth strategy for the company. A humongous rift developed between them, and they wound up suing each other. They eventually reached a settlement, but they've both sworn to never speak to each other ever again.
What a shame. What happened to their company?
It went belly up. The people my friends had hired lost their jobs, and the erstwhile business partners went bankrupt.
Nancy, this reminds me how you were helping some friends launch a new Mexican restaurant here in Manhattan. You were quite anxious at first because, as we all know, the restaurant business is very competitive. How are they doing?
Thanks for asking. They're doing well. I know all the team members, and they're a fine team with lots of mutual trust. You know, I think integrity is key to starting a new venture. That's what you should look for when assessing a friend as a potential partner.
I find this discussion quite interesting because someone wrote to my favorite advice column to ask whether it's a good idea to start a business with friends. I've been thinking about that a lot recently.
So what would your advice be?
Well, I think it's a typical "it depends" question. There are some friends I would start a business with and some friends I wouldn't. It would depend on my objective, dispassionate opinion of their business and organizational skills. I'd try not to let my personal feelings cloud my judgment.
I wouldn't automatically advise against it. If 2 or 3 friends feel they can profit from each other's capabilities, then sure, why not? We often hear about bad experiences like the one you described, Steve, but the reality is that friends go into business together all the time. Some of the world's biggest IT companies started out with 2 pals messing around in a garage.
Or in the case of my friends, in the kitchen. The trick is to understand and respect the fact that each person has their own skill set. If you go into a business venture with that attitude, you can definitely make it work.
What you say makes sense, but I'd still be cautious.
Let's say you decided to throw caution to the winds and go into business with some friends. How would you safeguard yourself to avoid trouble?
I would make everything clear and transparent up front. I'd insist on a formal, on-the-record discussion of possible exits, outcomes, and the likelihood of total failure. You know, in the U.S., 500,000 businesses fail every month. Failure and the loss of your investment is a very real possibility. If you and your partner lose your business investment, is that going to ruin your friendship?
Those are all good points. My friends had a good, honest conversation about that scenario before they took the plunge and started their restaurant. That's because their friendship has always been based on being straight up and honest with each other. They put everything in writing.
Sensible them. So they didn't have any problems mixing business and friendship?
Well, there was one bump in the road, actually. One of the initial participants is now out of the picture. It soon became very apparent that he was all talk and no action. The other partners asked him to withdraw. I'm happy to say that it was all settled amicably and that everyone is still friends. But for a while, I was worried that it could turn ugly and that lawyers would become involved.
Starting a business with friends can be a rewarding experience, but it comes with its own special challenges. A shared dream between close friends can all too easily turn into a nightmare.
No kidding. If you're brave or foolhardy enough to go into business with friends, you should set clear goals and reporting lines from square one. Clearly define the roles each partner should assume.
I made those very points in my somewhat peripheral role as a consultant and troubleshooter.